Wipe down the dry erase board, throw out the old point sheet, and shake the Etch-a-Sketch. Everything has been reset now that we have come into a new season. The drivers face fresh opportunities to come away with pride and something special. But despite everyone starting on equal footing, that does not mean it'll be easy to take the fight to the front runners. We'll see who has used the offseason to step up their game as we get ready to watch round one of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Jones. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Combining the MX-5 and Okayama should be extremely familiar ground for the drivers. I think it's safe to say nobody should really have much of a leg up on experience here. You can see, not that complicated of a course, only 11 turns here in the full layout that they are using today. 2.3 miles in length. Draft could play a part in a couple portions of the lap, but shouldn't allow an easy overtake. If anything, the most notable thing about this track is probably the fact that it has a lot of hairpins around it. These cars being a little bit loose, especially on throttle and turn-in, well, that could mean that it is a driver's track today. To see if it's a driver's track for our track guide, let's hop on board and see what it's like from the perspective behind the wheel.
All right, we've got Giancarlo Lenzi and the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Okayama. Coming up to the first turn, this is one of your best places to pass on the track. Just watch out because it's a late apex, so you could get your nose chopped off. After that, you'll want to switch sides to set up for Williams. There's some negative camber on this corner, so going too wide through here is gonna be tough. And it's not uncommon to see cars oversteer on the exit and slide into the wall on the left, so expect some action out of this area. From there, you just gotta weave your way through the Moss S and then get the car lined up for braking into Atwood. This is another potential place to get an overtake done, but if it was me, I'd wait for the exit of this long uphill right-hander. And that's because we're accelerating for quite a ways down the backstretch, and a good run off the corner is going to be very important. Plus, you add in the effect of the draft on these MX-5s and the hard braking into the hairpin, and you've got the most common passing spot on the track. Seats here are going to be the best ticket in the house. However, the amount of banking around this turn means that sometimes you can hold on in a side-by-side battle and have the inside into revolver. From there, it's a short burst into Piper, where the lack of runoff on the outside means you won't want to come out of it too hot. Then, there's a bit of a straight until Redmond, where if you've got a good run on your opponent, it's sometimes possible to spring a surprise attack. This is one of the slowest, most technical parts of the track, though. You can see, as we climb the hill, it switches back into Hobbs, another 180-degree turn. It's not that exciting of a section, but there's still time to be lost here. After that, it's only going to be a slight lift into Mike Knight and hold to the left for the best line into the final corner. This turn is deceptively fast, and carrying your momentum off of it will be critical to keep from being vulnerable into the first turn. But as long as you kept it together and on the black stuff, you finished a lap around Okayama.
You see from on board the MX-5 around a little bit of a sunnier day. It's a little bit late in the day here as they're going to go down to sunset at Okayama. But today's pre-race is, of course, the GTR Countdown to Green. GTR racing simulators are currently used as training aids for professional race car drivers, and you too can learn to ace that braking, sharpen those corners, and shave off those vital seconds. Whether you're a professional driver or a gamer looking for a more immersive way to play, GTR has your back. You can get started today at gtrsimulator.com. As qualifying has just started, we've got time for our race details here for today. In case we've got some new viewers tuning in for the first time, now is a convenient place to do it. Ryan, what are we in store for here for the race?
Well, we've got a 40-minute race coming up today. Fixed setups for these cars, which means it's all on the driver to make the difference out there on track. Incident cap of 20, so you can't afford to get into too many incidents unless you find yourself getting disqualified from this race. Points paying from first position all the way down to 15th, so there's stuff to fight for in terms of championship and a good points finish, no matter where you are in the first dozen or so spots in the field. Limited on fuel as well, so they're going to make a pit stop at some point during this race, so we're going to see a bit of strategy too. All the ingredients for a great race.
Yeah, certainly, especially with the number of cars we have. Top 15 is going to be a difficult ask for a lot of people with 60 of them out there. Right now, we're watching qualifying, and let's give you our qualifying details presented by SHH Shifter. SHH Shifter uses only the best commercial plastics to create the high quality 3D printed shifters you need to perform your best on the racetrack. Their commitment to detail and durability ensures that you receive the perfect shifter. Find them on the web at shiftershh.com. Now, they do this a little bit differently than some of our other leagues. It's only a 4 lap solo qualifying. They get 15 minutes to try to get them in without the advantage of trying to get the draft out there. I guess it's pretty simple here, Ryan. Just get out, push the car as hard as you can, and try not to bend it on the first couple.
Yeah, exactly. Give yourself as much opportunity to pump in your fastest lap as the bit of fuel burns off at the end. If your tyres are still there for that 4th lap, though, that's the big issue. They've got those 4 laps, but 4 laps is a minute 40 lap time. That's about 5 or 6 minutes to drive around on this track, and your tyres could definitely wear out in that time, which means you might find that the 2nd or 3rd lap will be their fastest. A good middle point between low fuel and good tyre wear as well. But as you mentioned, with 60 drivers out there today, finding your spot in the field near the front is going to be extremely tough, and we're going to see a big sort of congested pack of drivers in very close times throughout the mid-pack.
Well, you want to talk close times? The top 52 have 2.2 seconds between them right now. That is just insane. In fact, the pole is separated by 1/1000th of a second. Top three, 6/1000ths between them. David Siska on the top spot with Fuzui and Busquet down there in third. In fact, you don't get to a 10th apart from the leader until you get to 6th place, and that's Robert Hartley, who I know for a fact is incredibly fast, watching him on the MX-5 World Tour in years past. So this is just bonkers. I could not tell you how this is going to play out between our drivers.
I wasn't expecting 60 cars today, but I'm glad we've got it, because what I know coming into today's race is that these MX-5 cars, while they are low power, only 155 horsepower under the hood of those cars, they provide great racing. Add 60 cars to the mix, you've got one of the best races going around for this week's event. It's because, as you mentioned, slipstream's going to play a part, especially on that back straight, on this front straight as well. Drivers aren't going to be able to get away from each other. They're going to be stuck in packs of drivers and cars that are all waiting for someone to make a mistake. And we're going to see a big group today. And we should see some good overtakes too, because you can definitely overtake on this track. It's not one of those tracks where it's impossible to make a move happen.
Oh, and Busquet took the pole away from David Siska, who is still out there running. What's interesting is I see Racine Fuzui is still sitting in his pit stall after his 1 lap. So I'm not sure if he plans to try and wait to see if anybody can go faster to try and get back out there. But a little odd that he's decided to call it a day this early. Hernandez also working around, currently sitting in 19th place. Juan Manuel continues on what is his final lap now. You talked about opportunities, waiting for mistakes, things like that. We can't deny one thing that is probably going to offer some opportunities, and that's lap traffic, Ryan. I mean, it's not a short track, but God, 60 cars, they've got to run into it relatively quickly, and it's got to play a part in this race, I would think.
Yeah, it certainly will. Drivers will run into incidents and they'll find themselves getting knocked off the back of the train and they'll fall behind. And yeah, it's not short, 3.7 kilometers. And I should probably find the mile conversion of that at some point, sorry. But yeah, it's one of those tracks where when incidents happen, drivers are going to fall off. And with this many cars, lap traffic's going to play a factor. There's no doubt about that. And it very well could come down to who manages that lap traffic better in terms of deciding who wins this race.
Yeah, it's 2.31 miles, it looks like, that we're seeing. It don't feel too bad. I didn't know what it was in kilometers myself. So Fawcett coming around, getting himself into the mid-pack. Torres, Jaume Dalmas is Torres. He's known for being a little bit of an aggressive driver from his time in the MX-5 World Tour. He's out there and currently on the outside of the second row. He's got Stephen Van Opstal also with him. Steven seems to have found some good pace getting into the top 5, and he's just getting ready to start, I think, his final lap. No, actually, he is on his final lap, it looks like. So this is going to be it for the 44. Fabian Ponce, one of those that's yet to set a time. We're missing about 3 drivers I'm seeing yet to put a lap down. Oh, and Van Opstal does go to the lead. Wow. At the very dying stages, with only 4 minutes left on his last lap, the 44 manages to push himself up to the front.
And his third lap was a 1 minute 53. He didn't register a time on his second lap, so potentially Van Opstal was running around doing his absolute best not to take the life out of those tyres, and as a result, that final lap has propped him up onto pole position. And looking at some of these drivers that are up the front, it looks like they all had quite a slow third lap, with the exception of David Siska there. So, and of course Vizawi, who hasn't even done a lap after lap 1. But the front row, Opstal and Busquets, they both had a similar strategy. No time was set on the second lap for Opstal, of course, but on neither for Busquets. Both of them were slow on lap 3. Both of them were fast on lap 4.
Good observation on that. So something to keep note of. Wonder if any of the other drivers are going to be watching that. One thing we're also watching is the time and the weather, because, as I mentioned, it's late in the day. It's already 6:30 p.m. virtual standard time, and that means the sun continues to go down here, Ryan. Look at the track temperature, 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, that is not super hot, and I have to imagine as the sun gets lower in the sky and close to the horizon, it's going to continue to get cooler, quicker, and grippier, especially with this many cars laying down rubber.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and 83 Fahrenheit, it's not that bad of a temperature. It's not extremely hot for these drivers where they really struggle for grip and it's incredibly slippery, but it is only going to get better because it is 6:25 in the evening in sim time. So it'll get down to about probably 24, 25 degrees, maybe even colder. Fahrenheit, sorry, habits.
It's okay. You can say it in Celsius.
It's the Australian way. We do it in degrees and Celsius, but yeah, it'll get down to a pretty good temperature for these drivers. They'll find a lot of grip out there. Only issue is when they find the grip is when those tyres are going to be going right off the edge of their own grip levels.
Well, we've got viewers worldwide, so you give them Celsius, I'll give them Fahrenheit. We've got everybody covered. But your note about drivers not taking a second lap, getting back out, Racine Fazui is doing that very thing right now. He is back out on track, trying to get a faster one down as we ride on board with Haynes, who's still in 42nd, getting ready to finish his lap. Let's see if this one's going to be any quicker, as he's got to beat a 45.5 up to the line. Is this good enough? Not quite, just a little shy of that there as we head over to the Canadian now. The number 34 currently sits on the outside of row 2. And this is going to be it. He does have time to complete this final lap. Can he manage to use the same strategy that we've seen the top drivers use to get one just that little bit quicker?
He'll certainly be time left, though. He's we're coming right down to the wire. He's left it as late as he possibly could, as he comes around to that final corner onto the main straight. His current time is a 44.497. He's already only 3 thousandths or 300ths off pole, and oh, what a lap!
Wow, 0.2 quicker than anybody else when the top 5 have only been separated by thousandths. That was phenomenal by the number 34. I don't know how anybody is going to be able to top that in these last few moments. I think Haynes, the only other car out on track right now. I see Fabian Ponce just completed his qualifying. I see Nick Carty has also finished his 4 laps, and he's out getting continued warm-up conditions here. So that's going to be the grid. And, of course, the grid is brought to you by Sim Racing Studio. Want to enhance your sim racing experience but don't like the spending hours doing it? Sim Racing Studio creates plug-and-race sim racing accessories and software to enhance your experience without any DIY effort. Go to simracingstudio.com for more information. We got a lot to go through, so let's try and get as many as we can in. Racine Fazui on your pole with Steven Van Opstal in second. Fernando Busquets in third place with David Siska in P4. Jaume Dalmas Torres starts fifth. Pavel Simonek starting in sixth position with Kenny Brady in P7. Then it's Robert Hartley all the way down in eighth for him. That tells you how stacked it is. Mehdi El Fathi in ninth and Christian Lindroth in 10th.
Bruno Benagra starts 11th with Jeff Lovell 12th. Moon Miletus 13th, Marek 14th, Harrow, Evan 15th and 16th, Nako, and Bate on the 9th row of the grid, and 19th and 20th, Berger, Cruz.
Alexander Lekovic in 21st with Juan Manuel Fernandez in 22nd. Koichi Kitamura, in 23rd. Marcus Altonen in the 24th spot. Miroslav Natalizik, on that one, 25th, with Christopher Taylor in the 26th spot. Jean-Francois Pinault in 27th. Then you've got Alex Cofford in the 28th position. Sadek Bukabuti in 29th, and Jose Velasquez rounding out your top 30, Ryan.
Shane Sullivan comes in behind them in 31st place, Giovanni Licitano 32nd, Max Brady and Alex Albert 33rd and 34th, Maxim Patilli and Otis Adams Jr. behind them, Thomas Geisler and Andrew Fawcett 37th and 38th, and 39th and 40th are Tryphon Davis and Jason Voss.
41st goes to Aaron Smith as they start to go around the corner. David Haynes in 42nd with Jonas Siegner in 43rd. Then it's Brian LaRue in the 44th spot. Tieho Reisenen in 45th. Christian Paracarpi in the 46th spot. Nick Carty starts 47th with Austin Smith in 48th. Shane Cameron 49th, and 50th goes to Corentin Verboy.
Brian Sableski 51st, Rachel Williams 52nd, Prem from 53rd, Lee Martin and William Cox 54th, Ian Ponce, Sean Chitayak, Daichi Okamoto, and rounding out the field, Jaroslav Kabula and Casey Drake from 60th place. 60 cars, boy oh boy, this is going to be one heck of a race.
Oh my goodness, look it down the grid. I wasn't kidding when I said they went around the final corner. You can see they go a long ways around this track. Trechiak is the last one around there lined up as we wait for the last few cars. I'm surprised we're not seeing more of them try to start from the pit lane, knowing that it's going to be a little bit messy probably. But the engines start to rev, lights are up, green flag is out, Fuzui off the line. What kind of start can he get heading down into turn one? Following him up there, it looks like Van Opstal immediately getting into his slipstream, seeing if he could pull something down in the first corner. Not quite. First side-by-side battle is back between Kenny Brady and Robert Hartley. Other cars filing into that first turn. Plenty of three wide as you'd expect back there. I'm not seeing too many dramas though, as everybody seems to be clean so far.
Relatively clean start for most of the field there, which is actually very surprising, making their way through the first section of the track. They're going to get through this hairpin though and onto the back straight, and we're going to see a lot of slipstreaming happen here as the top half a dozen so cars are all single file, and it's an absolute mess of side by side. Maybe some three wide behind them in the mid pack, but here we go onto this back straight away. How much slipstream are we going to see here? An absolute lot of it, I'd say.
And Opstall takes a little bit of a peek, but decides to back out by the time they hit the hairpin. Fuzui still your leader. Behind them, side-by-side battle between Domasis Torres and Hartley there. That is for 6th position. Down through Revolver, big bobble though from Hartley on the inside. Then behind him, the Red Machine, another bobble behind there. That's Kenny Brady trying to find at least a little bit of space out on this track amongst all the cars. That slows off Lindroth behind him. El Fathi now taking a peek down into Redmond. He's not able to quite pull it off as he's going to be on the outside of Hobbs through here. I think we have a little bit of a problem farther back. Maybe not. Oh, yep, we do. Looks like someone going off, but we'll get back to it later as that's through Redmond and Hobbs. In fact, that's causing a huge checkup in the middle of the pack.
It is, and it's going to spread some of the field out. And remember, we talked about laps cars being an issue later on in the race. It all stems from incidents early on like this. 3 wide coming down the main straight as they're all fanning out, trying to find a way through the absolute mess and congestion. It's rush hour traffic down into turn number 1, and they all try to sort themselves out without too much incident, but I have no idea what's happening out there because it looks like an absolute mess.
Yeah, that's Altonen that we're seeing fighting with Christopher Taylor there for 21st position. You can see just how many cars are all bunched amongst each other. Once again, they come up to the Atwood hairpin. This could be one of those paces to pass as we get a few cars going off. Some contact. I'm trying to figure out who that was as he slips down the order. That was Cruz. Meanwhile, we've jumped back up to the front. Looks like Fuzui still ahead of Van Opstal, ahead of Bousquet. Zemanek still holding down fourth. A lot more calm down up here than it is in the middle of the pack.
Yes, certainly is. I mean, these front drivers will want to open up a gap and get away from all that rush hour traffic, so to speak, further down the order, and try to open up a bit of a gap before we get towards the pit stop phase later on in this race. And we might not see too much action compared to the middle of the pack for the front drivers until they do get themselves out to a more comfortable margin. Contrary, these drivers that are buried on the pack, they want to make up as many spots as possible, as quickly as they possibly can, to put themselves in the best position, because you never know what could happen up the front the further we get into this race. As we look backwards now at this battle at turn 1.
Yeah, that was off the leader, and he's pulled a little bit of a gap on Van Opstal down the front stretch. In fact, it's Fernando who's currently riding right under the rear bumper of Van Opstal, challenging potentially for that second place. See if he makes a move up here. It's been incredibly single file. You were right about it being a lot more calm there at the front of the pack. I had to go down into the 20s before we got any sort of side-by-side racing. Nothing doing, unfortunately, for Bousquet. As we take a look at 13th position, he's at the very end of this front group that we've been following. That is how far back it goes with the draft right now. He's following just behind the car of Jeff Lovell. And we had a change of position ahead of them. I think Christian Lindroth just got passed by Brady, barely. Brady going all the way off course. This is up in 8th position, but Brady holds on to it. So as they head their way down into the Redmond and Hobbs back-to-back hairpins once more. Your order up at the top is Fuzui, Opstal, Bousquet, Simonek, Siska, Torres, Hartley, Brady, Lindroth, and El Fathi. Let's head back down to 21st position. Christopher Taylor still in front of a bunch of cars with Atkinen with him. That's Maxime Tilly with him. Clifford Eben in there. He's the league organizer. Not too shabby himself. Running all the way up in 23rd out of 60 drivers. Doesn't sound like much until you give context of just how many cars are out there. They swing onto the front stretch one more time with Christopher Taylor leading the train and not under attack down into turn 1 as he got a great exit off of the final corner. Certainly has had a few drivers with issues a little bit farther down in the pack. We're going to look at 26 now. Nostalgic currently leading Valquez, Sullivan, and Haynes, a 4-car pack here. As they come up towards Atwood Corner. In fact, you could just about look anywhere in the field and you could probably find yourself a battle. In fact, it's going 3 wide in front of them. That's between Maxime Tilly, Altonen, and looks like Christopher Taylor. That's come down to 2 wide now, as that's Maxime and Maxime and Marcus going side by side. Marcus to the inside, you can see on the dark colored and the white colored car. The orange and black of Maxime has to give it up, falls down to 24th. Oh, excuse me, that was Altonen that fell down to 24th position, rather. Coming now through the hairpin. Up around Redmond and into Hobbs one more time. Atkinson falling away from Billy very quickly as Hartley finds himself in a little bit of battle with Torres. Following him right behind, underneath the bumper now, goes defensive. Torres trying to hold him off down into turn 1. Hartley around the outside, not strong enough to be able to make it happen this early in the race. Stays right with him. This is a battle for 6th position that you're watching on screen. Torres is the yellow machine. The white and black belongs to Hartley. Hartley so close behind him, but doesn't stick his nose out. He knows better than that. He knows he can get the slipstream coming up the hill onto the back stretch as they climb out of Atwood. Let's see what he's got. The drivers in front of him could yet stretch away if they start fighting too much. Of course, they've got Siska in front of them in 5th position with a bit of a gap. There goes another defensive move from Torres, forcing him to the outside. Sometimes you could see moves successful here after the hairpin down into Revolver. Hartley is looking for it, but he decides to come back to the racing line. They close up to Siska with that, though, despite the battling, reeling him in to within 0.3 of a second. They're not going to let him go quite yet. Which will be critical here this early in the race. Only 10 minutes in at this point, and we've yet to see any scheduled stops. As they come around to complete yet another lap, as you'd expect. The front runners have just been riding in line. Van Opstal behind Fuzui. So we take a glance at them. Bousquet dropping off just a little bit here on the front stretch. Back to about 0.3 of a second. Oh, and I think Hartley's got the inside this time. You can see him there in the background on Torres. He gets it down into turn 1. Torres, is he going to try for the over-under? Looks for it, but it's not there. Now as they swing out of Williams, Hartley, what can he do with Siska just ahead of him? A look back at Delmas's Torres. Oh, there was a little look. We didn't see it on screen, but Van Opstal took a peek to the inside of Fuzui. Not sure if it was a serious one or if he was just trying to keep from running into him, but even still, that was tight stuff up there. We last mentioned that our front group goes back to 13th. Well, it has narrowed down. It is now down to 9th for our front group, and the end of the train is Lindrith. Coming down back into the more technical back half of the course, swinging it through Piper. This has been very good racing. I have to admit, it's been a lot cleaner than I expected. We do have a few DNFs down at the farther end of the course, but percentage-wise, it's very few drivers. Otherwise, we're looking very, very good today. Let's take a look at what it's like from Torres' view now that he's lost the position. Though he is trying to get it back from Hartley, he's got to look behind him. That's Kenny Brady that he's going to be seeing in his mirrors. You can't see it from this angle, but there's a red car, number 54, that's close behind him as they come onto the front stretch here. There he is, Kenny Brady, trying to move his way up the ladder of this front group. But how much does he want to try and push the issue? So many of these drivers have been just trying to hang on to the back of our leader. Hartley's not one that's been content to do that. He's managed an overtake and got him up one position. Nothing doing for Brady this time as he stays in line behind him. Car's going way off as the sunset has gone low enough that we've now got lights on the cars. We look down, 15th position. Ari Haro just ahead of a couple cars. That's Kitamura, Fate, and Fernandez. They're behind him. This is for the 15th position. Oh, and Hartley, is he going for another one? He is. And in fact, we got a battle in front of him as well. This is for second place. Van Opstal being attacked by Bousquet. He's on the outside, though, as they come into Revolver, so it looks like Van Opstal is going to be able to hold on to it. Behind him, Hartley was successful, though. Hartley now up into P5. Incredible stuff, how it all kicked off like that. And look at this, Torres thinks he can get a piece of the action. Siska having to go very defensive, pushing him all the way to the inside as they come into the Redmond hairpin. But he's not going to be denied, or is he? It's going to switch back, barely giving him space down to the hairpin. And Torres is, in fact, denied. In fact, now he's under attack because Kenny Brady takes a little bit of a peek, but he comes back to the racing line. And if those four keep fighting, they're already losing out a little bit to Hartley, who's really been the only one we've seen that's been very good at trying to make overtakes. We're going to watch from Bobby's view. Bobby Hartley currently trailing Pavel Zemanek up there in the 4th position. Still your leader, Racine Fuzui, who got the pole by an astonishing 0.2 in a 60-car field. is leading the way. He's finally saw a little bit of a challenge on Van Opstal from Bousquet, and it happened out of here from Atwood down into the hairpin. Are we going to get another one? Not sure that he's going to get the opportunity, because right now it is looking like Zimonek who's got the better run as he gets up behind Fernando. We're going to see a defensive move. The 22 does indeed duck way low, very late, forcing him around wide. Fernando trying to power his way the long way around. He sticks with it. How aggressive is he going to be? Oh, very aggressive as he keeps his nose in. Down through Revolver to the inside. This job is not done yet, though. Has to try and carry the speed down towards Redmond. Just behind them, giving watch in the popcorn position. Hartley, seeing if he could get involved, if he could sneak a spot, whichever one manages to fall behind. Car contact, very slight through that hairpin as they bang doors. And eventually, Zimonek has to give it up because Bousquet is fending him off, but they're starting to lose ground now. Van Opstal pulling a distance of about 9/10 of a second over P3. That's exactly what he and Fuzui want. You see the gaps on screen. Some more action down into turn one, potentially. Here comes Zimonek. Another look to the inside. Can he complete the pass? He couldn't do it about a half a lap ago. It's going to switch back once more into Williams. Bousquet still on that inside line, trying to see if he can hold him back, and it's not meant to be. In fact, a slow exit on the corner opens up the door. Here comes Bobby Hartley. Round the outside of the Moss S, round the outside of the Atwood hairpin. Oh, and they come together, though. They bang doors, and Hartley slides to control. He eventually catches it before he loses multiple positions. He slides down to 8th, might even be down to 9th. Incredible stuff. Absolutely wild here up at the front. Siska now trying to manage to overtake Hartley as things have really erupted and all the politeness has gone out the door with our front runners. So now that Van Opstal has started to pull away, does he start to attack at some point? Had a change for position in 13th. Looks like Jeff Lovell lost out to Adam Mariak. Gets him 12th position. This nice little group of 4. But it has started to get a little bit more tense, a little bit more aggressive up at the front. Moves are starting to be made. Drivers have sussed out whether or not they're being held up. We'll watch this battle for 10th place continue on. Fathi, Monagura, Mariak, and Lowell. A little bit farther up the group, up the fields. Bousquet actually losing a little ground to Zimonek, who's trying to chase down our top 2. Oh, but we got a challenge on Kenny Brady. I thought I saw Lindroth maybe have a little bit of a look. You can see the differing lines between them. Lindroth, who we ride on board with. The red car ahead is Brady. Crossover move. Can be dangerous here as he almost touches him coming up into Atwood. And he's actually going to go a little bit wide. Lindroth with a great run up the hill. And in fact, after his problems earlier, Hartley is eager to try and capitalize. He does up on the backstretch, and he finds himself now in 7th place. I've been joined, as we've had a few problems with Ryan, by Adam Lindgren. Adam, thanks for joining us in the booth. You found a whopper of a race to join us on.
Definitely, yeah. I'm looking at Stephen Van Opstal and Rashim Fazui in the lead, actually battling between one another. They actually got really close to one another as they were going through the last couple of turns. And now, as we look at the mid-pack too, everyone's just really tight on one another's bumpers at this moment.
Yeah, hard to find your own bit of racetrack. We haven't really talked about and Tilly having a great battle back here. This is down in the 19th position. So that's Alex Albert just in front in the blue car with the pink rims. Altonen still with them. Nostalgic also at the tail of the train. Tightly packed like sardines down through the Redmond hairpin. The difference in lines between them as well. Looks like Detilly trying to square it up there, Adam.
Yeah, Detilly's trying to square it up, whereas Albert is just trying to use what little torque the MX-5 has out of the corners. Oh, they get together! Albert Gets rammed a little bit by Detilly. That puts him offline. Detilly's going to go by, and that's going to allow Aaltonen to go by as well.
In fact, I think all 3 cars are going to be able to overtake. Nostalgic has got much better momentum, but it looks like a 2-for-1 potentially for Aaltonen as he's going to go on the attack. Oh, and once again, car contact. Detilly side to side there with Aaltonen. Detilly manages to take the position and keep 18th, but it is starting to get even more rough out there on track. Side by side still between Nostalgic and Albert as they're not done with their fight behind them. Another look to the inside from Aaltonen, outside rather from Aaltonen, as Detilly has to cover him off. 2 by 2, they go in a Noah's Ark around Atwood Corner, and it's going to be a drag race down the backstretch, Adam.
Yeah, but I think Aaltonen has got a good run off the corner, so Detilly is a little bit low on straight line speed just on this particular straight. He's going to have to drop in behind, but look at this. Albert actually pulling on Nostalgic behind them, so this is going to be very interesting coming into the hair.
Elbows are out, and they're very pointy today. And up at the front, Aaltonen is going to be able to hold on to 18th ahead of Detilly. Still no giving up between Nostalgic and Albert until Albert finally manages to get ahead down through Revolver. So that moves him into 20th position.
Those two finally get a little bit of a breather, but Detilly and Aaltonen still going at it. And we're going to go up to P4 and take a look at that. That's Jaime Donalds Torres, and look at that. Fernando Antonio Busquets is in.
Yeah, I think that's what kicked this off. Looks like Quentin
Detilly's coming
is
in as
our
well.
first lapper. So Detilly, as you mentioned, also in. Christopher Taylor thinks he can go quicker without all these cars ahead of him. We got a few takers on an early stop strategy. Canadian now down to his stall. Busquets, the first of the drivers in, comes back out. Is he going to get clear track, though? That's the big question. He returns in 26, and he's in a little bit of traffic. It's not huge. Austin Smith is in front of him, but he's going to have to make some overtakes.
It's clear-ish track. He's going to have trouble trying to maintain that speed, especially with his pace. And he's going to have to, yeah, like you said, Joe, he's going to have to claw his way through as he goes off track a little bit around that corner.
We had a challenge between Lindroth and Hartley up for 5th position. Hartley can't quite pull that one off. In fact, that puts him offline, and Kenny Brady is licking his chops, thinking maybe he could do something with this. You can see how close he's getting to Hartley now there in that 6th spot. As they come down into Redmond Hobbs. Lap traffic of Dubois, just in front of them. Could play a part in this. Is he going to be able to pull out of the way? Quentin all the way down in 49th right now. He's going to pull off to the side, and he's going to take a pit stop, and so is Torres.
Yep, Torres is going to take a pit stop along Christian Linderoth and Robert Hartley through. And look at this run that Hartley's getting off the corner. He's got a good run, but it's not going to be enough to catch Linderoth by the end of the straight, I don't believe.
That doesn't seem to be the case. I wonder if Torres is responding to Busquets, because remember, we saw Fernando come in last lap, so this could be Torres trying to cover him off.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. And we actually have a great battle going on right now in 8th place between Fathi, Mariak, and Bonagura. Those three are right next to each other. Lovell's looking on as well.
Watching to see where Torres comes out. Where is he in regards to Busquets? He's just ahead of him. So he managed to keep him from being undercut. There you see Torres running, and he returns down in, where is he actually? 21st, rather. Sorry, our timing screens are very tall right now. We have a lot of cars to look through to try and find people. Let's go back to Hartley. He's not out of the woods. And he's trying something on Lindroth. He seems very strong coming down to this portion and then isn't able to do anything with it.
Yeah, Hartley seems to be setting up the corners really well. He seems to set them up pretty well. Brady actually set them up better behind him, but look at this. They're all getting held up a little bit by Lindroth, and this is actually getting interesting. It might be a good time to pit now if you're getting held up by a driver ahead. It looks like Lindroth might be headed to the pits right now, and so is Brady. Yes, Brady does decide to duck down.
Hartley stays out. So does Siska behind him in the teal blue machine. So that'll give them some free track. Hartley, this is critical for him because we knew that he was faster. He was all the way much farther up in the field before he had an incident. So I imagine he's going to love having all this clean air in front of him. Can see a little bit of damage on the right front of the car as well. Hopefully that's not slowing him down. And he is using every inch of the track.
Every inch and not the track as well. We're going to go back and take a look at Fatih Merrick and Bonagura as they're still duking it out. Second lap in a row.
Bonagura with an alternate line to get one over on Mariak. He might actually be able to do this, but he's going to be on the outside of Atwood Corner. He's got the momentum. They're going to be wheel-to-wheel into here. We've seen a lot of contact already in this turn, but not so this time. Another over-under. Mariak shallow into the corner, compromises himself up the hill and onto the backstretch. Bonagura now has the inside and a nose ahead.
And I can report that Lindroth and Brady came out behind Busquets and Torres, so those two lost a little bit of time in the pits. But look at this battle on screen. Mariak and Bonagura side by side as they go through to Noah's Ark.
Quite got it done yet. Bonagura is going to have to be very strong around the outside. They bang again. And behind them, thinking about 3 wide, Lovell decides better of it. Maybe for an over-under here as both of them compromise through the corner. Lovell's going to get a nice run on Bonagura. Get to the inside, down into the Redmond corner. Mariak stays ahead of both of them, but great stuff from Jeff in the number 75 to move himself into 8th.
Yeah, that was definitely contentious. We're going to take a look at our leader now, Racim. Racim doing a good job holding off these two behind them, but I have a feeling that those two are just kind of riding around a little bit, Joe. What do you think?
It's looking like it here because they've still got 15 minutes left to go in a 40-minute race, so they've got time. Van Opstal and Simonek just right behind him. Mariak, after that hard racing, decides it's time to come in. Same thing with Bonagura.
It's going to be interesting to see where they come out because of how much they were battling. That's probably lost them significant amounts of time on the lap. So it'll be interesting to see where they come out. They're definitely going to come out behind Torres and Busquets. So it's going to be interesting to see how that susses out.
And Lindroth is going to be ahead of him. He gets another spot. So it looks like Bonagura going to return in 20th position.
Yeah, and Joe, I can confirm that Van Opstal is not trying to make an attempted pass for the lead right now. He got right up to the rear bumper of Racim and decided not to make that pass. So he's definitely riding around until the pit stop.
Highest pitters right now still Torres and Busquets. They're in 12th and 13th. After that, you got a few cars that haven't pitted before you get to Brady, Mariak, and Lindroth. Watching Torres now. The car that he is behind is not pitted. That's Lukovics in 11th. Might be slowing up a little bit, especially right here in this section, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. This section definitely looks like Lukovic is really struggling a little bit on the traction through the corners. But Torres, not super clean on exit either. He's going to look to the inside, but look at that. Lukovic is blocking him off. But Torres has a better run. He's going to try to cross him over here. Let's see whether or not Lukovic can hold it on the apex.
Exactly what Jaume did not want. And finally, much to his chagrin, Lukovic is going to come on into the pits and free him up.
Lovell and Kitamura are also in.
All right, so those were our drivers that were close to fighting with Mariak, weren't they? Or it was Bonagura, I think. Bonagura coming out of the final corner. He himself has got some traffic. Nick Berger and Juan Manuel Fernandez just in front of him. Bonagura going to be easily by as Kitamura returns to the track. Lovell behind him. In fact, it's a fair gap between 18th and 19th, which is Bonagura in the higher spot, Kitamura in the lower one.
Something like the pit stops are...
Yeah.
Yeah, the pit stops are starting to really play an effect here, who takes them early. It looks like the undercut is working today, so it'll be interesting to see what the leaders do up here. Is Van Opstal or Simonek going to try and do something here and try and catch out Racine? It's possible that they're all going to pit now.
There's 1 in and 2 in, but not 3. Ooh, has Pavel been saving fuel? Wonder if he could maybe jump them a little bit. As down into the pit lane, our 2 leaders go. Hartley follows them, so does Siska. El Fathi is in. A lot of our drivers up at the top have only been able to make it this far. Ari Haro also in.
It's going to be interesting to see with Sismanek out there in the lead, whether or not that clear air is actually a benefit or whether or not it's been just the pace of the cars, because with these MX-5s taking tires, it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not pitting this early, whether or not the undercut's truly working or whether it's been traffic being the problem.
I'm watching Torres, since he was one of our first pitters. He's coming out just behind Van Opstal. It looks like it worked, and Van Opstal actually spins. He catches it before it goes around. That's losing him costly time. He was in second for much of this race, but he is now falling way down the order.
Yeah, that's going to take him out of it. He's all the way back to 11th position right now.
Wow, that one mistake. Here he was looking at a win, and now even a top 10 is going to be a tall order for him. Let's look at the replay on that pit exit. I don't think he touched anyone. I think he just got caught out.
Which is really surprising. It's hard to... It can be fairly difficult to lose it in an MX-5, but when you set it up for an edgy... Wow, look at that. I think he was surprised by the car around his outside.
I think so, yeah.
And as we go back live, he's almost 3 wide with Lindroth and Haynes going down this straight.
Yeah, he wants to get those spots as quickly as possible.
And Sismanek is into the pits from the lead.
Fawcett up ahead of him as we watch the battle behind Van Opstal. Still fighting side by side with David Haynes for what is 9th position.
Barrett Fate coming in from second place as well.
That's the last of our leaders. Van Opstal does get himself into 9th. Oh, Lindroth with contact there with Fawcett. Fawcett's yes to pit, though. He was really giving him the hurry up because he didn't want to lose time. Fawcett now finally coming in. I think this is the last of our drivers. Yeah, Haynes is in as well. That'll be everybody.
Simonek is exiting right now. Racine goes by with quite a bit of a lead, so I think that Powell lost significant time, and here comes Torres right to the back of Simonek.
Wow, Torres played this perfectly. I thought the early stop was going to hurt him with all the cars that he had to pass that were slower, but this is looking really great. He is not that far behind Fazui as well if he can clear Zimonek.
He's going to have to clear him. He's going to have to do it quickly. The tire temperature difference is going to be interesting to see here, but Simonek has this long nose arc to warm up those tires, so very, very good opportunity for him to pull away. He actually got a good launch off of that corner as well.
Stays with him. He's going to have the draft. Zimonek, does he go defensive? He doesn't seem to feel too under threat because he's staying on the racing line. Oh, almost contact between them. There might have been a little bit of ghost contact. Another little bump there, and that shoves him wide, but it gives him the inside down into Revolver, and Torres does back out of it a little bit. Not sure if that's sportsmanship or just not wanting to try and go side by side.
Simonek is extremely loose in that MX-5, number 71 right now. Torres staying to the outside. Simonek's going to try and block off that lane, try and keep Torres from doing the over-under, and it works for the moment, but can Simonek hold it on the inside through the next turn?
I'd say Bousquet is the one that is liking this battle the most. Is a little bit off track. There goes Zimonek. That allows Torres another little look, but can't capitalize on it. We ride on board with the yellow machine of Jaume Domasis Torres onto the front stretch. Both of them using as much of the track as they can as Zimonek kicks up dirt onto the front stretch. That's going to keep him safe. Jaume just not close enough for an attack.
And while this is all going on, I'm keeping my eye on Steven Van Opstal, and Van Opstal is about 7 seconds behind the leader right now as they go across the line. He's got some significant time to make up, but it's not over for him yet. It's going to be challenging to get back up there, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he can close in that much time with this little left on the clock and that many cars between himself and Fazui. Down in 12th, though, Nick Berger in a nice little fight here. That's with Bonagura, who we were watching before. Bonagura looking for the over-under, coming through Williams. Doesn't quite pull it off.
He just didn't have quite enough speed on the exit of that corner, but he is definitely challenging Berger quite a bit as they go to Noah's Ark. We'll see whether or not look at that, he backs off a little bit early. He's going to try and get a good exit here onto the back straight.
Fernandez way wide, all the way out to the curb there. I don't think he lost time, but certainly pushing the limits, as I think we had a change for position between Van Opstal and Lindroth. Let's take a look at how that happened.
Yeah, let's take a look at how that happened, because Van Opstal's making some really good progress right now. It's not, I don't know whether it's going to be enough, but it's going to be close. Look at this, down the straight.
Just got a good slipstream. And I don't think there was much defense, though, from Lindroth. He saw the writing on the wall. So Van Opstal now up to 6, second and a half up to Hartley. And Hartley is a hard fighter. I don't think he's going to have an easy time trying to overtake him, if I'm honest, what I've seen of his racing in years past.
Let's take a look at our leader right now. Rasim Fazui has really taken this lead and run away with it. 3.2 seconds over Zimonek and Torres, who are battling with Bousquet as well. And he's just taking this clear air and really maximizing it. So even if Torres gets by Zimonek, he's going to have to work really hard to close that gap.
Yeah, Fazui signed the guest list. He's checked out. He's got that 3-second gap over Zimonek, who now not only has Torres, but Bousquet challenging him for that second position. It's best of the rest here today. We don't have too many laps left with these 5 minutes on the clock. Ooh, there's a very good run here from Torres. And I'd say that Pavel knows it. He immediately goes all the way down. Look at this. He is not giving an inch to the inside. He wants to make sure and cover him off. Tries to come back to the racing line. That forces Torres to have to weave a little bit to make sure that they don't make contact and the pass doesn't come off this time.
Oh, look at this. Torres going to the inside. Powell's going to have to hold on to the outside. He's doing a good job. We'll see if they can get the run.
Now is the time to go, Torres decides. Now is the time that he makes his move. He gets to the inside of Pavel, but he doesn't have the speed off of Piper. Still, he's got a nose in, but he doesn't have the job done. It switches back here into Hobbs. Oh, and they come together. He gets turned around. Hartley manages to avoid, but I think we lost one of our that was Bousquet. Bousquet just DQ'd.
Oh, no.
Too many incident points. He was looking at a potential podium, but his race is done prematurely.
Oh, that frees up Pavel, but he's got 4.5 seconds up to Razim, so he's going to be struggling right now to get back up there.
And you know who loves this? Van Opstal's all the way up to 4th now with that happening. So even though he lost second place with his mistake, I'd say his never give up attitude is possibly putting him into a position for a podium. It depends on how quickly he can try and catch Hartley here.
And he is clawing his way up to Hartley, who's actually catching Zimonek, but he's also bringing Lindroth with him. So these 4 cars, I think, are going to come together for a battle when we get on these last couple laps.
Wasn't it Lindroth that pulled out of the way and let him through? I wonder if Lindroth is intentionally just riding his coattails.
For sure, he's giving him a updraft down the straight now, Jim.
Look at that. Smart running from Christian in the number 21.
Ride the coattails of a faster driver as you go forward. That's definitely a good way to go.
Not going to get the white flag this time. I think it's going to be 2 to go at the line. Torres, who's actually still running, he's got another battle on his hands. This is for 7th with Siska now, who's rocked up with him.
Yeah, Siska's been quite close behind him through the last couple of corners, and Torres has some significant damage to the front left and the rear right of that car. Unfortunately, the MX-5 is a stout car, and it doesn't accept that damage very well, but I know that Torres is probably struggling with some steering damage under that hood.
Yeah, that was quite a little knock that he got that nearly sent him around. Actually, I should say did send him around. Siska staying with him as they come onto the front stretch. Could this be his chance? Ooh, he's got a very good run, and he's going to have the inside. No, he won't. Whoa! All the way across the street, Torres is going to cover him off side by side down into the first corner, and Jaume is successful in keeping that 7th spot.
Yeah, but for how much longer with the speed that Siska has down these straights, if Jaume can't break that draft, he's going to be up for it.
Oh, and a battle for second. Zimmernick and Hartley. Hartley took a look around Atwood, doesn't quite work out. They have lap traffic in front of them. That's William Cox. He stays off to the side, but the inside is where Zimmernick is. He doesn't get boxed in. Fair play to Hartley, who doesn't force him down behind lap traffic. They come to a game of chicken down into the hairpin, wheel-to-wheel stuff between them. Hartley, can he retain the inside down into Revolver? He tries to think about it. He's given space at the apex, and Zimmernick still fends him off.
Zimmernick's doing a good job holding that position and closing the gap to Racine. They've gained about a second in the last couple laps, but that's not going to be enough, Joe. This coming down to the final lap here, these two aren't going to be able to catch Racine unless a mistake is made. So this really is a battle for all the marbles right here.
Well, two that might be able to catch Zimmernick and Hartley is Van Opstal and Lindroth, because if they keep fighting as hard as they were, they could lose that 2.5 seconds. Even in this one lap, I think that's doable. It just all depends on how fierce things get.
Definitely.
There's the white flag out for Racine. Behind him, Zimmernick once again with a defensive move as Robert Hartley tries to go the long way around through turn 1. Can he keep the speed up? He might just have it here because he's going to have the inside into Williams. He's just got to seal the deal here. Bobby Hartley has been working on this for a while. He's been trying to come back into things, but it's not done. Zimmernick still forcing him to work hard for it. Side by side as they come up to Atwood Corner. Hartley found himself shoved off unceremoniously here before. Not this time. They give each other space as they climb up the hill. Now it's down the backstretch once again, Adam.
Yeah, that's as close as you could get right there between the two of them. But look at that. Hartley's got a good run here. Zimmernick trying to do a little bit of side drafting, but he's just going to hang out here. I think he might be able to outbreak him into the hairpin, Joe.
He's got a nose ahead, but he's on the outside. He's going to have to work incredibly hard to get this done. And more lap traffic there beside them as they almost come together, trading paint as they work their way through the hairpin, but Hartley's got it done. Behind them also Van Opstal and Lindroth side by side, but not done yet. Pavel comes back into it. He's going to force the issue with Robert Hartley and manages to get the inside down into Redmond. Still wheel-to-wheel stuff as they try to sort this out. And once again, making contact, but Hartley manages to get to the inside and get ahead over-under potentially for Pavel. In fact, he is going to have the inside, but we can't watch this forever as they come through the penultimate turn. Pavel is just managing to barely get to the inside, just managing to have a nose ahead, but up in front of them, Racine Fazui is going to get the win. Who is it going to be for second? And it's awful close, and Hartley with a nose ahead takes P2.
What an amazing race between those two behind him, and what a fantastic strategic drive from Racine Fazui to get that win.
Van Opstal ahead of Lindroth. Those two also inches at the line. Incredible stuff. Down in 16th, we got a little bit of a battle to the line, but that is going to go in favor of Barrett Fate. So we check in on 22 as well. David Haynes just ahead of Velasquez. But I think Haynes has got this one covered off in that number 320. Indeed, he does. Most of the cars rather spread apart. Ironically, the best battles were what we saw there for the lead. Or at least for second, third, fourth, and fifth, rather. Meanwhile, as we watch this battle on screen coming down to the line, Zabelski manages to get 31st ahead of Williams, ahead of Brady.
Lee Martin's going to cross ahead of Prem as well. Those two are battling significantly through the last lap, so amazing to see everyone come out of that clean.
Crazy stuff here in the field. That's going to be it for our drivers on the lead lap. So We're going to catch our breath. We're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with a minus 273 post-race show, so stick around as we have all the upcoming races being shown on your screen. Welcome back to Okayama International Circuit. As the sun goes down and it gets darker around here, celebrations abound for our winner, which we'll get to in a second, Racine Fazui. But first, we want to present you the minus 273 post-race show, because whether it's on the real track or the virtual track, minus 273 has one goal in mind: to produce the best racing gloves to get the job done. With unmatched comfort, durability, and style, their gloves will leave your old ones in the dust. Find out how they can help you by visiting minus273.biz. We've also got our turning point presented by Turn Racing. For us, the turning point of the race today had to be with Van Obstal. Steven Van Obstal came out of the pits and unfortunately found himself just with a bad exit, lost control of his car, and lost multiple positions. He did get back up into fourth, but he was in second place, and it could have been so much more for him today. So that allowed Robert Hartley to move into second and Zemanek to slot up into third. Merge the gap between sim sport and motorsport with Turn Racing, by the way. Turn carries a wide variety of steering wheels to suit any and all of your needs. From advanced sim racing wheels to practical street wheels, they will surely have something for you. Check them out at turnracing.com. All right, let's go through your finishing order here today. There's a lot to go through. Racine Fazui from pole to flag, but certainly had to work hard for it. Once he broke the draft, then there was no looking back. And then, of course, Robert Hartley, second place from 8th on the grid. A never give up attitude for him, despite having an off track, getting shoved off track at one point. And Pavel Simonek winding up in P3, rounding out your podium. Steven Van Obstal, he's got to be kicking himself. He finished in fourth after starting on the front row. Christian Lindroth going from 10th to 5th. Not bad there. Kenny Brady with a sixth position today with David Siska finishing seventh. Mehdi Al-Fathi with 8th place, and Jaume Damasis Torres goes backwards from 5th to 9th. Adam Mariak going from 14th to 10th.
Nicholas Berger's going to come home with an 11th place after starting 19th. A good finish from him. A good finish from Juan Manuel Fernandez as well. 10 positions gained, ending him in 12th position. Lucky Baker's Dozen comes home with Ari Haro tonight, with Bruno Bonagara coming home in the 14th position. Jeff Lovell going to come home in 15th, with Barrett Fate in 16th position. Kuichi Kitamaru comes home in the 17th position, with Alex Albert in 18th. Clifford, even not the greatest race for him, comes home 19th position, with Miroslav Naldichik coming home in 20th.
Andrew Fawcett was 21st today. I can speak. David Haynes going from 42nd to 22nd. What a jump. Jose Velasquez in the 23rd spot with Shane Sullivan in 24th. Then Maxime Detilly. He was so much farther up the field, but had to settle for 25th. Christopher Taylor in the 26th spot with Diego Reisinen in 27th. Nick Hardy in the 28th spot. Jonas Seeger finishes in 29th, rounding out the top 30. Abdasik Butkabuti in 30th.
Brian Sabalski comes home in 31st position, with Rachel Williams coming home in 32nd after gaining 20 spots. Great race for her. Max R. Brady is one of our few that just held position in the 33rd position, with Christian Pericarpi coming home in 34th. Lee Martin coming home in 35th today, with Sabol Sprem in 36th. Alex Koford in 37th. Odysseus Adams Jr. in 38th. Alexander Lekovich comes home in 39th position after his DNF, unfortunately. And then Marcus Alotonen comes home in 40th.
Amazingly, 39 cars on the lead lap. William Cox also a lap down, 41st. Brian LaRue, 42nd. And Quentin Derboy in 43rd. Thomas Geisler finishes P44. Then you get into cars multiple laps down. Diego Cruz in 45th. Sean Tetriak in 46th. And Fernando Busquet. DNF today, 4 laps down, 47th. Jean-Francois Pinot, 48th. And Jason Bossi in 49th. 11 laps down, I'm assuming that's also a DNF. Austin Smith rounding out your top 50.
And then we have Nico Kakko coming in 51st, with Ioannis Mumulidis coming home in 52nd position. Fablan Pront coming home in 53rd, and 54th is Tryphon Davis. Shane Cameron coming home in the 55th position, with Aaron Smith coming home in 56th. Giovanni Listiano coming home in 57th position, and Daichi Okamoto coming home in 58th. Jaroslaw Sabola coming home in 59th, and Casey Drake coming home in the 60th position.
Our winner today joins us here in the booth, Racim Fazui. Racim, before we get to the actual race itself, let's talk about qualifying. 2/10 over anybody else when the top, 4, 5, 6 cars were separated by thousandths amongst each other. Where did you find that time?
I don't know. And you just reminded me I forgot to save the replay. Um, yeah, it was a crazy lap time. I had sessions all week with pro iRacers. Some of them amongst the field today, and yeah, they were lapping in the Global Mazda. They were lapping a second faster than me, and up until today, I don't know. I snapped. I don't know. It's like I snapped out of a dream, and I just was clocking laps, and yeah, I just made it happen.
It seemed like you had things pretty well under control as the first half of the race looked like it was mostly just leading a train of cars, nobody challenging you. How long did you anticipate that to last? Did you figure most of the guys kind of knew the deal with this style of MX-5 racing?
Yeah. It's really when when you're first and you see second, third, and fourth all saving fuel, not overtaking each other. It's all about really just maintaining the pace. At some point I was trying to break the gap, but I realized it wasn't possible with the draft. So yeah, and up until the pit stop, I expected myself to be third or fourth after the pits. But I took a bit less fuel than I was supposed to. That's why I was saving a lot of fuel at the end. And fortunately, due to accidents, which are unfortunate to the people involved in, I was able to get a nice gap and finish first.
And next week, that fuel saving is probably going to be even more important because it's going to be Watkins Glen. Do you see yourself maybe intentionally letting cars go by, getting up into the lead for there because of that fuel strategy stuff, or is it still is the effort still try to be upfront as much as possible?
Well, really, it depends. Of course, you always want to be up front near the final stages, even if it's first on the last lap. You're trying to make yourself as fast as possible, but it really depends on the racetrack, depends on the strategy. Like Watkins Glen, I never really raced there with the Mazda, so I'm gonna get no practice sessions, and I'll see what's gonna be there.
Best of luck there. You've been mighty impressive today with an excellent victory. Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yep, yep. I want to thank Clifford for organizing this wonderful racing series. Uh, it's always a pleasure to race here. I want to thank GSRC for the sweet coverage as always, and I also want to thank GTR Simulator, SWH Shifter, and Minus 273, the sponsors, for being involved with this wonderful series. Oh,
I
and
think I think uh, here we go. We got
yes,
Racine
sorry.
back.
Last but not least, I want to thank my team, Ivano Racing Team, for the support and always being here. Yeah, man, that's it. Thank you.
We'll just say that Racine accidentally dropped the mic and had to pick it back up there. So
Yeah, that's it.
that was
That's it. That's it. You got it.
thank you, the kind words on GSRC from Racine there. But we've got our fifth place finisher, Christian Lindroth, ready to talk to Adam.
Yeah, Christian, you had some intense battles there, especially coming before those pit stops with the mid pack. How tough was it out there to maintain positions with the amount of drafting that was available down that long straight?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, that was great racing, and it was really tough there. In the back of the how would I say it? First pack or something. It was really tough racing, and I was there was no chance to pass anyone. All the guys in front of me were a little bit faster, but the draft uh, gave me chance to keep up with them. But it was very nice racing, and it was a very good place to be.
So we know that some drivers prefer to save fuel on these races, and others prefer to just go all out and make up the time once they've with raw race pace. What was your strategy today? Were you saving fuel at all during those battles?
I think I saved fuel by accident because in the end I had still 5.7 laps remaining fuel, so I should have been much more wiser and take only something like 6 liters or maybe 5 point something. But I never calculate my fuel consumption, so that was my fail. I think I could have been few positions better if I would have done my homeworks better.
Also, the setup tonight looked a little bit loose on exit. How was it driving out there? Was it a difficult setup to drive with the conditions, or were you finding it to your liking tonight?
I love this baseline setup. It just fits for me perfectly. I don't know why I use clutch pedal like in normal car and everything else like in normal car. I actually have MX-5 at my daily drive, so I drive it in iRacing. I drive it just like I drive my MX-5 in real life, and I think this is good setup. Uh, I don't know how to make it better. It's very uh, it's very comfortable to drive.
Well, awesome, Christian. Great talking to you, and fantastic top five today.
Thank you, and uh, big big thank you for Clifford Evans to
Oh,
creating this kind of great league, and of course for you guys too, and everybody who's racing here. It's very nice racing.
all right, that was Christian Lindroth, our fifth place finisher tonight, and it looks like Joe Peak has David Haynes, who finished in the 22nd position today.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't think we'd want to talk to someone in 22nd, but considering he started 42nd, David, that is an incredible charge. Would you contribute that more to qualifying out of position, or did you just keep calm when everybody else around you faltered?
Yeah, g'day. I think I gave qualifying everything I could, but then just in the race, no dramas at all. Pit stop was quick, and I guess I found some confidence during the race as well. So it all ended up pretty good. Was racing around some of my friends, some of my teammates, so they gave me a little bit of heads up about some incidents and whatnot to avoid. And I had one wreck where I was very, very lucky to not make any contact. So I think up 20 positions is just keeping my nose clean there.
Well, a good finish is a good finish, regardless of where you are. Uh, it seems like that these races tend to go pretty late, and it gets a little bit dark. Do you like it with the sun getting down and having to rely a little bit on your headlights? Does it not bother you much?
I don't think it really affected the racing at all, but it was very beautiful to watch. There was a point about halfway through the race where my headlights came on and the dash lit up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it is getting a little bit dark." And the you don't want to be staring at anyone else's brake lights too long, but they're quite attractive on this car. And just at the end, a little bit of some of the headlights effect. Yeah, it was a really pretty end to the race, as well as no points for me to my understanding, but a clean race I can be proud of.
So other drivers are working out fuel strategies in their heads, and you're writing poetry, I suppose, in the cockpit. It says, "Enjoy the scenery." Still, congratulations on 22nd. Anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, obviously you guys putting on a great broadcast here that I'm probably going to go watch back. My teammates at Team Huge Ass, there was about 5 of us in the race here today. The series admins did a really awesome job. It was great to see how proactive race control was. Of course, we've got to thank our big sponsor, Dickens Cider.
Of course, always from the HA Motorsports team. That's David Haynes finishing 22nd. And we, of course, want to thank a few of the sponsors ourselves as well as we wrap up. GTR Simulator can be found at gtrsimulator.com if you want to check them out. Main sponsor of the series, the SHH Shifters, can be found at shiftershh.com. Sim Racing Studio, you can check them out at simracingstudio.com themselves. Then you get to minus 273. They are at minus273.biz. And then Turn Racing is located at turnracing.com. Big thank you to all of them for helping put on this great show. You can see how grateful all the drivers are even for what they put in there. It's getting very dark outside, so let's close it up with a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Ryan, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, we have a merchandise store. The link is below. It's gsrc.storenvy.com. And don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page, where we've got a big red subscribe button. If you click that, you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. A week from now, we'll be at Watkins Glen. That'll be the classic boot layout that they're doing. So even more of a draft race there. Sunday, December 1st at 4:30 p.m. Eastern is when that kicks off. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.